If there's one thing scarier than a crowded amusement park full of screaming kids and angry parents, it's a completely empty park covered in darkness and despair. That's the lesson Lorraine learns in The Park, Funcom's brand new first-person horror game. What starts out as a simple trip to Atlantic Island Park will quickly turn into a nightmare roller coaster ride filled with terrifying memories and revelations, both figuratively and literally. A young widowed mother, Lorraine is taking life a second at a time. She has a million thoughts in her head, but right now is all about finding her son's misplaced bear. Of course, as any parent knows, simple plans can quickly spiral out of control when children misbehave. In this case, the young boy decides to race off into the empty park by himself, sending our reluctant protagonist on a quest through the venue's many attractions. The park is part of a growing subgenre some people affectionately refer to as a walking simulator. Instead of focusing on puzzles and action, this first-person adventure is all about setting a mood and telling a story. We simply walk through the amusement park picking up notes and listening to Lorraine's inner monologues. Every path sheds new light on the young mother's past and her connection with New England's creepiest tourist trap. It won't take long for the park to show its hand. There's a boat ride early on that presents the story of Hansel and Gretel, a theme the game comes back to repeatedly over the course of the 2-hour adventure. This is a decidedly eerie moment that helps to set up a lot of the horrifying things you'll uncover inside Atlantic Island Park. As effective as this opening is, the boat ride perfectly illustrates the fatal flaw in the park. So much of the game involves spooky things that happen around Lorraine and not directly to her. She sits in a lot of rides watching events play out, as much a passenger as the player is. The path she's on is linear and not especially challenging, and there's even a help button just in case you get lost while exploring. Unsurprisingly, the park's most compelling ride involves a haunted house that sends Lorraine on what seems to be an endless loop. This will immediately remind players of Konami's PT demo, which seems to be a trend we're seeing a lot of these days. The marriage of storytelling and horror works best in the confines of the house, since it gives you more control over what you're doing. But even then, there isn't much of a puzzle here, and it ends up just being a stop on the way towards the dramatic conclusion. With no combat or puzzles to solve, most of your enjoyment will come from uncovering Lorraine's many layers and exploring her connection with Atlantic Island Park. She's being haunted by a ghoulish figure with more than a passing resemblance to the Babadook. It all leads to an effectively tense atmosphere that generates a few jumps. There's enough here for those genuinely interested in the story, but gamers looking for consistent scares will be disappointed by this short adventure. Believe it or not, I played through this entire game not realizing this was a spin-off to another Funcom release. Having never played the Second World, I'm happy I went into this with no preconceived notions or expectations. I simply hoped for a great story and a few scares. What I got was a solid story and a scare here and there, but nothing that would keep me up at night. At its best, the park is a fascinating look at a mentally troubled woman trying to keep everything straight for the well-being of her fractured family. It's a good-looking game with an eerie atmosphere and a memorable lead. Unfortunately, the adventure is over too quickly and it isn't as interactive as other games in the genre. On the other hand, it's a whole lot cheaper than planning a trip to Disneyland. Hey, thanks for watching the review. This is just the first of our Halloween-themed content. You'll also want to check out Friday's interview reenactment about video game violence. The interview was conducted in 1994, so it was right in the middle of the whole Night Trap and Mortal Kombat controversy. Trust me, you'll dig it. We also have a review of Poncho on the way. Oh, and a new episode of Online Pass, the weekly video game news quiz on Sunday. So do me a favor and click the subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.